Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Boys and girls, you are listening to the Pursuitiest channel this side of the Pecos, according to recent Rasmussen polls or whatever. I want to talk to you about a couple of things today, but mainly
just one.
Yes, took the words right out of my mouth. Oddly confident, lady. So, I'm Pursuity, you're Pursuity. Let's get Pursuity. Today I want to talk about something rather strange. This is from the East Bay Times from the 11th. Family of missing tech executive calls off search. Body found. The family of Aaron Valenti stopped its search on Saturday night shortly after police reported that a body was found in South San Jose's Almaden Valley, the location where the 33-year-old tech entrepreneur went missing after a series of bewildering phone calls during an apparent mental health episode. While we were praying for a different outcome, we're so appreciative for the help and support you have given, according to a Facebook post by the group Help Find Aaron Valenti. Please remember Aaron as the beautiful, smart, funny woman that she was, it said. Valenti went missing Monday night after driving off course from Palo Alto to catch a flight home from the San Jose International Airport. The San Jose Police Department reported finding a body inside a vehicle parked on the 6500 block of Bose Lane, only half a mile from Valenti's last known location near Almaden Expressway and Camden Avenue. Records show that the San Jose Fire Department responded to a medical call at 3:56 p.m. near 6582 Bose Lane. Remember that. Responded to a medical call at 6582 Bose Lane. The name of the victim will be released after confirmation of their identity and notification next of kin, according to Sergeant Enrique Garcia. The Santa Clara County Coroner's Office will identify the manner and cause of death. And it looks like they have since then decided that it is indeed her. They've called off the search. On Saturday, relatives had continued their frantic search for Valenti, who they said apparently suffered a manic episode early in the week, telling them in a string of bizarre phone calls that, quote, "It's all a game, it's a thought experiment, we're in the Matrix." Her husband said she had no history of mental illness. The young woman, with thick blonde hair down to her waist and driving a gray Nissan Murano, had not used her phone or credit card since Monday. Her mother, Whitney Valenti, flew to San Jose from New York with her husband and two sons to join her daughter's husband in the search. She described her daughter as an intense, brilliant young woman who graduated summa cum laude from Georgetown University with a degree in business administration before entering the private equity world. Valenti was founder and CEO of Tinker Ventures, an application design and development company where she managed a global team of 120 employees in their Salt Lake City and Pakistan offices. Let me say that again. Salt Lake City and Pakistan offices. Prior to forming Tinker, she was the head of product development for Overstock.com, where she oversaw a team of 250 engineers. Okay, well, don't look in too much into this. I just thought it was very interesting that they have offices in Pakistan, and that's not very surprising for tech. Much stuff gets outsourced there. But very curious indeed. Now let's have just a little peek here at this Tinker Adventures. I don't see anything particularly nefarious. Tinker app serves as a platform for people who are looking to post quick jobs or for people who are looking to earn extra money by helping others. Okay, so it sort of looks like a human resources app. And looking through this Valenti woman's experience, it looks like that's kind of what she is. She's an app maker, psychologist. Her husband is also a psychologist. We'll talk a little bit about him in a minute. But overall, a lot of these different apps that she's gotten wrapped up in have to do with human resources. But let's go back to the article. Nothing seemed amiss until she called her parents about 3:30 p.m. Keep in mind, this woman was 33 years old, and the call came in around 3:30 p.m. on Monday. after she met with a former colleague on Sand Hill Road and said she couldn't find her rental car. Once she found the car, she stayed on the phone with her parents. Her conversation became bizarre. Valenti missed her Monday evening flight home to Utah from San Jose International Airport and did not attend a Tuesday ceremony in Utah where she was looking forward to receiving a Woman in Tech award. We talked to her for hours on and off on Monday night, Valenti said. Her thoughts were disconnected. She talked a mile a minute, kind of like me. She'd say, I'm coming home for Thanksgiving. Then in the next, she was saying she's in The Matrix, a reference to a science fiction movie about a virtual reality world. The family planned to hire someone on Saturday with a drone to search the rugged areas of Quicksilver Park in the Almaden Valley. On Friday, they reviewed security camera footage at gas stations and plastered missing flyers throughout Almaden, including the areas around Redmond and Camden Avenues and Washoe Drive. Verizon Wireless picked up pings in that area on Monday. It's a nightmare, her mother, a nurse, said during the search. Why can't they find a car? How can you hide a car? Yeah, and this is interesting because she couldn't find her car, and then they couldn't find her car, and it seems like everything started to happen just as she had announced that she couldn't find this rental car. So did she end up in a different car? We don't really know, but I also want to plug in your head that she was an app person. So I would assume she'd be pretty savvy with apps. And I would assume that her family was pretty savvy with apps. Attempts to locate her through Find My Phone apps and other digital search tools were unsuccessful. During the phone calls with family members on Monday night, Valenti said she was low on gas. With the request from the family, a San Jose police officer contacted Valenti by phone Monday night. The officer said she wasn't making any sense. They drove around looking for her on Monday night and never found her, Valenti's husband, Harrison Weinstein, said. Valenti and Weinstein met in Palo Alto in 2003 when he was a graduate student at Palo Alto University, and she was working for Summit Partners private equity firm. They had been married since 2011. During her trip to California the week of October 1st, the couple spoke each night, he said, and everything was fine. She stayed at the Ritz-Carlton in Laguna Beach for an executive leadership workshop called Create the Powerful, and on Thursday flew to San Jose and rented the Nissan. She drove to a tech conference in Monterey late in the week before returning last weekend to the Bay Area to reconnect with old friends and colleagues. Weinstein, a psychologist, said Valenti checked out from the Nest Hotel in Palo Alto on Monday afternoon. There's never any history of anything like this. No mental health diagnosis, no hospitalization, no substance use, no arrests, as clear of a record as you can get. This is incredibly unlike her, he said during the search. She is an extremely high achievement, successful person. Okay, so as of now, I don't have a whole lot of definitives here, but this is an odd story, and I have a feeling there might be more to this story. We're over here in the Google Maps, and in your top left corner up here, you can even see right here, this ping is Sand Hill School. And this road right here is Sand Hill Road. So this is where the call went out, where she was looking for her car. This is up here in West Menlo Park, not near where she was found. Now, down in the bottom right is where the medical call came in from 6582 Bose Lane. I don't know if it's Bose or Bosey. Maybe it's Bose, it's San Jose. Maybe it's Bose Lane. I don't know. But either way, it's Bose right now. And that was where the call was. Now, the car or the body was found on the 6500 block. The 6500 block is from here up until where this little light blue road makes a kink right. So this would seem to be very, very close to where this medical call was. We don't know what the medical call came from. That's very interesting. But evidently, the family must have known she was in the area because the drones were set off in the park. And the park is just off your screen here now, but it's down south there at the Quicksilver Park. So they must have known that she was in the area. But a couple of other curious things that I wanted to point out is that, so here's this woman who can't find her car. I'm not saying she would have had an app, to help her find her car, because you still have to maybe have a connection or whatever. But like I said, she's an app person. And although the mother had said that, why can't you ping this car? Why can't you find this car? I want to point out over here on Heavy, it looks like her husband said there was no kind of tracking device on the phone, whether it be some sort of app or something like that. So Already, I'm seeing a conflict of stories right there. It might be nothing at all. It might have just been an innocent, statement. But I think that's really, really curious. Now, of course, I think we all know that your cell phone itself pretty much is a tracking device. And if you're not aware of that, you're about 20 years behind, right? I think we all know that as long as you got yourself a cell phone, you're going to be pinged if you can access any kind of Google map or whatever. And again, like I said, this is an app person, so it seems very unusual that she would have either gotten lost, but not necessarily surprising she couldn't find her car. Now, I do want to point out she was supposed to fly to Utah from San Jose International, and that is sort of center right of your screen where my mouse is here. Now, you can see I have two different routes leading to the same path. She could have taken either one, but if she was indeed heading to the airport, she would have either gone this way and taken some sort of other stop maybe before the airport, which is very possible. But if she had gone this way, she would have gone right past the airport. So this all seems very, very strange. And again, we're here in another residence. So it would suggest to me if she was visiting a friend up here at a residence near Stanford University, and then of course down here in another area of residence, maybe she was visiting another friend, or she got herself diverted right past the airport, which is also possible. Also keep in mind, going this way, right smack dab in the center of your screen is the Apple campus at Cupertino. So as for those of you who know, this is Northern California, so it's obviously very, very techie all the way around. So this can be a frustrating situation because when you have an adult missing, unless it's 24 hours, you're usually going to have a hard time getting any kind of law enforcement to move on this because they can't really file a missing persons report, at least from the best that I can understand, until 24 hours, particularly if it's an adult. But the family was immediately on this. They set up a Facebook page. They set up, a couple. Obviously, they sound like tech people, so they probably immediately went to what they knew, right? But the family knew something was up. And here she is, a psychologist, as well as what seems to be kind of a bit of a tech mogul. Maybe not super big time, but she was very, very accomplished. And her husband was also a psychologist in the Salt Lake City area. So you would think these people would be a fairly stable mind. And that's, of course, what the family is saying. This is way, way out of character for her to start talking all kind of crazy stuff. And I find it very curious that as an app maker, somebody who is constantly accessing other people's data would be talking about something as what some people would think would be crazy, like the Matrix and whatnot, living in the Matrix. Well, we're back on heavy.com. The Woman Tech Council described her work at Tinker this way. At Tinker, Erin manages a global team of 120 employees across their Salt Lake City and Lahore, Pakistan offices. Tinker has built over 700 products, including mobile apps, SaaS applications, tech-enabled marketplaces, and consumer websites. Okay, well, she may not be a tech giant, but that sounds pretty accomplished to me. The council added that Valenti had worked for brands including Facebook, Skullcandy, Live Nation, Pearson, Metro PCS, and several emerging startups. She is currently focused on developing software and product development training programs, rapidly scaling revenue, and launching a web content series on innovation and creativity. All right, she sounded busy. Before starting Tinker, Valenti was founder and CEO of SLC Tech Startups in Salt Lake City, which she described as a startup and technology-focused meetup group. Before that, she was executive in residence for Mindshare Ventures in Park City, Utah, and director of product development for Overstock.com. This is Mindshare over here, and her Tinker was part of this. I don't see anything unusual. It just looks like another tech startup here. But I did want to point out that this is Tinker's logo right there. And of course, that logo with the little triangle inside the eye and the squared circle idea. And I'm just saying. But other than that, really, this just looks like another tech startup, right? Well, I have a feeling that there's more to this Valenti than meets the eye. She seems like quite a talented person, and she's got her fingers in quite a few pies. For 3 years, she was founder and CEO of Skycrane Incorporated, described as an online work-for-hire marketplace where businesses can buy on-demand administrative support, back office, and marketing service. But this is what's curious to me. Valenti also worked as an investment professional for Summit Partners, a venture capital and private equity fund in Palo Alto, California, and as a financial analyst for Bonaventure Realty Group, LLC in Washington, D.C. Okay, so this Valenti is a psychologist. And she is an app mogul, if you will. She also was an investment professional for Summit Partners, which is a pretty big deal, and also a financial analyst for Bonaventure Realty. Oh, okay. Well, let's take a look over here at Summit Partners, because this is where it starts to get really, really curious. Broad and deep industry experience. For more than 35 years, we've been helping companies accelerate their growth in 3 key sectors. And remember, she was advising on their financials, meaning their investments. So she would have known about a lot of these companies that were that Summit Partners was associating themselves with. And there's some curious companies indeed. Let's dig into these tech companies first. TSheets, founded in 2006, TSheets provides cloud-based time tracking software to small and medium-sized businesses. Thousands of companies in over 100 countries trust TSheets, SaaS, and mobile applications to track employee time and attendance for payroll. And, this is very, very interesting because a lot of these tech giants are getting into kind of stuff like this too. You can even think of Jack over there, Jack Dorsey from Twitter. Remember him and Suhail Rizvi went into the, what is the mobile payment thing he's got? Square. It's a big, big deal because it's not just about money and mobile payments. It's about gathering your data, in particular, gathering your financial data. Gainsight, the company's SaaS suite, integrates with Salesforce and uses big data analytics to evaluate sources of customer intelligence using sales data, usage log, support tickets, and surveys. Or how about Darktrace, which sounds really nefarious on its own. Darktrace is a rapidly growing provider of cybersecurity technology. Darktrace's solution, the Enterprise Immune System, represents a new class of cyber defense software powered by advanced mathematics and machine learning that helps large enterprises and governments detect advanced threats and anomalous behavior within their networks. And then we've got Acacia Communications. Acacia was founded in 2009 with a vision to lead the optical networking industry into the 100G plus era. As one of the first vendors to launch a 100G subsystem with coherent detection in 2011. Acacia established an early leadership position in a rapidly growing market with demands driven by network upgrade cycles as communications providers work to meet exponentially rising bandwidth demands. Okay, interesting stuff, more data. But now we get even more interesting here with some of the healthcare sciences. Fermentis International. With origins dating back to the 1970s, Fermentis produced molecular biology products for scientific research. Fermentis grew to be the dominant player in Europe and sought an experienced life sciences partner to solidify this leading position while helping expand into Asia, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what do you do here? Fermentis had become one of the largest privately held companies in the molecular biology industry, selling more than 1,000 products. What kind of products are you serving there to leading researchers around the world? Molecular biology products. And of course, here's my favorite, Integrated DNA Technologies. Integrated DNA Technologies is the world's largest manufacturer of custom nucleic acids, i.e. building blocks of DNA and RNA, and assists researchers in advancing genomics technologies, including synthetic biology and next-generation sequencing. The company serves more than 90,000 customers across a diverse set of blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's where I find this to take an interesting turn. This woman is a data person. And if you follow my channel for even 6 months, you know that I've been harping on this for a really, really long time. You look at these people, these big tech people, whether it's Facebook, Google. We're talking now about Bill Gates is back in the news and his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was doing this too, in basically investing all this money into these sciences. Same thing with the Bill Gates Foundation. All these tech startup guys who were stealing your data, whether it be your financial data, your social data, your personal data, whatever it might be. Well, what's the most personal data that you could possibly offer them? Your DNA. And that's exactly what these tech giants are going for. And that's exactly the connections we're starting to see with Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I'm not saying that this woman, Valenti, is necessarily wrapped up in it, but I'm showing you that she's involved in data. And this is data. Integrated DNA Technologies. And this seems, I don't want to say necessarily suspect, but it's a little suspect. She was also a financial analyst for this Bonaventure Realty here. And although I don't want to point out anything real suspect, looks like some pretty nice stuff here. And this is based out of Arlington, Virginia. This was started by the Dutton family, Dwight Dutton Sr., and I believe his son is running it now, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was some DC elite on that roster of clients there. But the only thing curious that I wanted to mention here was that the name itself, Bonaventure, is that a nod to Saint Bonaventure, who is obviously, was a Catholic saint. And this guy was a physician and later became archbishop and later bishop and, of course, saint. I did not know if this was a Catholic connection. The only reason I'm pointing that out is if you followed my last few videos in regards to the Catholic Church and their acquisition of tons and tons of real estate. That was the way my mind went. But there might be another explanation for that. Might have just been another reason. I know there's, upstate New York, you have the Saint Bonaventure over there, but this is based out of Virginia. So unless you have a different story, I'm not really sure, but she was a financial analyst here. Okay, so Patrick, why should I care? Well, I'll do my best to sum it up because time and time again, I keep seeing the same connections with all these tech giants. Think about it. Sergey Brin over there, Alphabet, and Eric Schmidt, Google, Tim Cook at Apple, Mark Zuckerberg over there at Facebook. We've got Susan Wojcicki, who is, of course, getting your data right here on YouTube, and Wojcicki, who is over there at 23andMe, getting your DNA. It's a DNA collection service to tell you what you're medically predisposed to, who was married at one time to Sergey Brin. It's all very incestuous, isn't it? And, of course, they all seem to want the same things. Number one, social media, your personal information, your personal data. But that's not enough. They want your payment data, too, so they start investing in these payment apps, mobile payment apps such as Square and Jack Dorsey, right? Who also happens to be wrapped up in social media on Twitter. All the same kinds of connections, but that's not enough. They want to be into the medical profession too, whether it's medical equipment, research and science such as Bill Gates that's constantly working on vaccines and whatnot. And of course, this all gets down to the basic level, which is your DNA. And like I've just explained, the ultimate form of data is your DNA. And we can trace this back super far, but it all goes back to the Pentagon Project, LifeLog, and whatnot. LifeLog essentially being this original goal of what later kind of branched off as Facebook, but the whole goal was to log everything about you, your personal information, who you met with, what your tendencies were, even down to say like what 23andMe is doing, gathering what you're genetically predisposed to, down to the molecular level. They wanted all of your data. And they still do. And that's why they're all invested in the same thing. And of course, to do a lot of this stuff, they need intelligence from up above, whether it be satellites or whatnot that they're shooting up there. But they're always firing off rockets, right? Facebook's always trying to fire off rockets. And of course, you've got Elon Musk, who is usually sometimes firing up other people's stuff up there. And of course, remember, one of the people that was invested heavily in Elon Musk rockets was Suhail Rizvi. Remember that name, ladies and gentlemen. But I think you see the point here. It's all-time big data. And of course, they all have one more thing in common, which I haven't even mentioned yet. They're all a bunch of humanitarians. Now, certainly, this Valenti, she wouldn't be a humanitarian, or would she? According to her LinkedIn page, Valenti was a volunteer for Not for Sale, described as an advocate for anti-human trafficking initiatives, participated in humanitarian mission to Uganda in 2008. She was also a volunteer in economic empowerment for the International Rescue, it says Committee, but I'm imagining that's International Rescue Committee. She participated in mentoring refugee entrepreneurs. Valenti's Facebook page captured a vibrant life full of friends and activities, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's stop right there. Because there's a big red flag here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's right there in the center, the International Rescue Committee. The IRC has become the latest humanitarian organization pitched in the spotlight following the revelations that Britain's Oxfam failed to report a former country manager for illegally using prostitutes in Haiti. As outrage over the Oxfam scandal mounts, top non-government organizations such as IRC and Save the Children have also been accused of a culture of cover-up. A leaked report seen by British tabloid The Sun from the UK's Department for International Development revealed the IRC, which is fronted by former UK Foreign Secretary David Miliband, had its government funding suspended over allegations of sexual harassment and fraud. Funds were eventually released to the charity, but the public was kept in the dark about the incident. The IRC followed good practice, reporting allegations to donors, conducting investigations, and providing reports to donors and local authorities, an IRC spokeswoman said about the report. Data collected by the Daily Mail showed that Save the Children, the London-based NGO which promotes children's rights across the world, were made aware of 176 incidents in 3 years involving potential abuse of children by its staff. Okay, I just want to stop right there. 176 incidents in 3 years. And there were dozens of organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just a problem, it's an epidemic. A former colleague of Roland van Houwermeiren, the Oxfam employee, who admitted to using prostitutes in Haiti, came forward on Tuesday saying that Mr. Houwermeiren had been dismissed from his post in Liberia for similar misconduct while working for a different charity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this organization has been around for a long time, since the end of World War II, and there are some major players wrapped up with it. Now, keep in mind, although I do not know every individual's level of engagement, knowledge, or involvement, or whatever, there's a ton of heavy hitters, and like I said, I just showed you 176 incidents in the last 3 years. Let me just read you just a few names of what seems to be an inexhaustible list. Henry Kissinger, Tom Brokaw, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, Carolyn Kennedy, the Queen of Jordan. And then, of course, you can see right there David Miliband. Tracy Wollstonecroft down there. That's the president of National Geographic. How about Rajiv Shah, the president of the Rockefeller Foundation? But particularly, I want to turn you on to former UN Human Rights Chief Zaid Ra'ad al-Hussein. Well, our human rights chief has not been real hot on human rights. I want to take you to this article from Jerusalem Post, and I want you to note the date, December 21st, 2017. I know. We're about halfway down here. I want to get you to the meat of the matter. Zaid's arrogance has also irritated a number of member states, using his position for posturing and being critical of a number of world leaders, not least of which has been President Trump, and he has become an embarrassment to Secretary General Guterres if it was not already one, and an embarrassment to the King of Jordan. He began his term as High Commissioner for Human Rights by resorting to the tactics of the dictator, trying to find a cause to dismiss Anders Kompas, one of his senior officials, for leaking confidential information. Unsatisfied with Kompas then being cleared of any wrongdoing by an official investigation, Zaid set out to find another reason to have it investigated, and in doing so sparked the biggest sexual abuse scandal the UN has had to face in many years. When presented with evidence of the ongoing sexual abuse of children in the Central African Republic, Zaid's priority was not to stop it or to attend to the welfare of the victims. It was to use it as the excuse to have Kompas investigated again for leaking confidential information. And I want to stop right there. If you have not seen my videos Cardinal Sins 1 and 2, I highly suggest that you do, because we're looking at a very similar story here. In those videos, I tell you the story of this Cardinal BitChute, who, like Zaid, was having a little problem being investigated by this Milone fellow, and he ended up doing the same thing, accusing him of leaking and spying and whatnot. And when it turned out that that wasn't it, they reassigned him and moved him. Very similar to this Anders Kompas, but what they both have in common was sexual abuse. And it says right here that it was one of the biggest sexual abuse scandals that they've had to face in many years, meaning that they've had to face it before. Well, this Zaid guy railroaded this guy Anders Kompas, and like I said, he ended up stepping down on December 21st, 2017. Oddly enough, that was the same day that President Trump signed this executive order right here, basically defunding anybody being around the world that was guilty of human rights. How about that? But let me point this out real quick. Kompas simply did his job, only to be demonized by Zaid for doing so. But the story was made public thanks to the courageous actions of one of the very few Jewish officials in the UN. Miranda Brown revealed the perversity of the UN's priorities and the quite astonishing lack of judgment of Zaid and his colleagues in Ban Ki-moon's inner circle, bringing a firestorm of disapproval down on the organization. And I want to show you something else that's very interesting, because there's another guy I'd like to point out that's also in Ban Ki-moon's inner circle, and you may know him if you watched my videos entitled Cardinal Sins 1 and 2 by the name of Danielle Bodini. That's right, the same Danielle Bodini, the real estate magnate who was funding Cardinal Dolan's operation. Of course, Cardinal Dolan was wrapped up in his own sex abuse scandal, as well as a $57 million laundering scheme in which that money was going into some random cemetery trust fund. The same Danielle Bodini who happens to be a UN ambassador himself. The same Danielle Bodini who was connected to the Frick Center. I highly suggest you check out my video entitled What the Frick is Going On. The same Danielle Bodini who was married by Cardinal Chelly, who was also a member of the Roman Curia and also a UN ambassador. The same Danielle Bodini whose helicopter crashed at the AXA Equitable Center in New York later last year that just happened to be the offices of Sidley Austin LLP. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. If you're new to my channel, welcome to you. I highly suggest that you bookmark my page and that you find another way to get yourself notified, because from time to time, you're going to get unnotified, unclicked, and unsubscribed. So if you can find this page, bookmark this page. While you're at it, if you have not checked out these videos right here, Cardinal Sins and Cardinal Sins 2 from the 7th and the 12th, respectively, I highly suggest you do if you were a little bit confused as to what I was talking about today and why it all matters. I highly suggest going back over there, and hopefully that'll connect some dots. All right, all my alternate links are down below. Gab, BitChute, Real.video, all that stuff is down below. Check out my Twitter at IPOT1776 if you've not already. All that stuff's down below. So are the show links from today's show. And I am out of here. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay focused.